Hello and welcome to Vibrant Living Diaries, the podcast where we unlock the secrets of how you can renew your inner vitality and relearn what it means to live a life with energy and purpose. I'm your host, Danielle Grobman, and I'm proudly collaborating with the International Wellness Alliance. This alliance is home to experts across the world whose specialties allow us to cover the entire spectrum of health and wellness. Just as a disclaimer, the stances our guests take on this podcast and the topics we cover are not representative of our individual perspectives. We are here to gain a holistic understanding of all points of view. All information and advice we give here are purely for entertainment purposes. If you're planning on making any lifestyle and/or health changes based on what we cover here, please consult with your main medical wellness practitioner to find the best next steps for you to take on your wellness journey. Today we're talking with Dejan Davcevski, a life coach dedicated to helping people focus their energies on the four categories of life: the spirit, the mind, the body, and the heart. We'll be exploring Dejan's profound insights into emotional awareness and intelligence, the impact of apathy, uncover what it means to reprogram your paradigm, and hack into a better life. Dejan's philosophy is all about unlocking new levels of self-awareness, growth, and vibrant living. We're very eager to have him on with us today. So without further ado, Dan, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here, Danny.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into this. Before we do, can you kind of summarize a little bit about what your business does, what it all entails for people that maybe aren't too aware?
Sure. So Life Coach Code is a platform, a global platform that focuses on the four fundamental pillars of a human being: the spirit, the mind, the body, and the heart. In each of these four fundamental pillars, we share different type of content. So for example, the spirit, we share content about spirituality, lessons learned from people, gurus, some certain techniques that you can use to make your spiritual journey much smoother. Then for the mind, for example, we share articles that are about psychology, philosophy, tips and tricks about how to use the supercomputer that you carry on your shoulders. The body is all about exercise, nutrition, healing. The heart is all about inspiration, motivation, improving the relationship you have with yourself, with others, energy healing. All in all, we try to give a wholesome approach to coaching. And in our terms, life coaching doesn't mean what you can find online as the definition of life coaching. It's kind of an umbrella term that encompasses all types of coaching, because we believe if certain type of coaching helps to improve your life, then it's a life coaching. If somebody focuses on improving your mind, it's a mindset coach. But then having your mind improve, it's also improving your life. So everything is encompassed by life coaching. That's why we are called Life Coach Code. And on our platform, we welcome every type of coach. We are looking for coaches from all around the world. 3 years ago, we started this initiative of finding coaches. So we are going online, and from all around the world, we find experts and coaches who we believe have powerful message to share with the world. We approach them, we interview them, we publish their interviews, and they enter our database where people can find them. And we have developed an intelligent search bar where people can go type their problem or type the thing that they want to be solved, another thing that might filter out the perfect coach for them, and our intelligent search bar will match them with the perfect coaches based on the coaches we interviewed and based on the coaches that are within our database. So briefly said, this is what Life Coach Code is mainly about. Aside from this, we organize many events. One of them is the Superhuman Summit. That is an annual event. We organize it every November, and from next month we are launching, it's called the Superhuman University, where people can go and get access to hundreds of programs and courses that are developed by us in collaboration with all the coaches that we work with.
There are some interesting points that you brought up, and I think the first one that I really do want to dive into is this seems very comprehensive. So it's not so much a question, it's just like a observation. It's so comprehensive to the fact that you're hitting every aspect of life with these four pillars. But I am curious to know, why is there four pillars? Like, why not just stick with the one? I remember we touched on it a little bit last time, but for some people, they almost fall victim to the paradox of choice, for lack of better words. If they see that there's so many options and it's like, okay, I come into your platform and I really know that I have bad luck with relationships, for example, and I want to fix that. How does actually having access to these four pillars not make me feel victim of this paradox of choice of like, wow, there's so much here, but it actually helps me like narrow in, okay, this is what I need to focus on first, and then I can go here?
That's such a good question, and thank you for asking. Usually the problems we believe we have are not arising from the place we believe they're arising from. So for example, as you said, you have, let's say, problems with relationships, and you will believe that going towards the heart pillar will solve that. But maybe there is something that you're neglecting within your spiritual pillar that is why this problem exists in the first place. So to bring the story back, why there are 4 pillars, why there are not 3, why there are not 5, why there is not 1. We are approaching the philosophy of life basically from the old Greek philosophical approach of life, that there is air, water, earth, and fire. These are the 4 main elements. And we found out that you can perceive life through this lens and everything makes so much more sense. No matter if it's your presentation for school or if it's a complex thing like the human being, you can find these 4 elements ingrained each and everything that exists. So for example, let's take the project for school. The air of the project is of course the idea behind the project, right? The thing that starts the project. The water of the project is the information you're filling the project with. The body of the project is the project itself, right? The structure and how you're organizing it. And then the fire or the emotional side of the project is how you do the makeup of the project, the colors and how it looks. So when you put all of this together, it's becoming one whole. And if you see it like this, it's much easier to take these pieces apart and see what exactly, first of all, is missing where and what you can improve. Be it you don't have enough information, or maybe the structure is bad, or maybe you need to do a better makeup so the project looks better, or maybe the idea in itself needs a little bit more clarification. So when you're approaching everything from these 4 fundamental pillars, you have a lot more broader perspective to find the exact thing and to work on this. As you said, the paradox of choice is real, but this is actually helping you to choose the right thing. It's not actually giving you more unnecessary choices. It's actually giving you a broader perspective so you can find the right choice for you.
I like that. And when it comes to actually finding that right choice and actually going into that whole hiring and interviewing process with these coaches, how is it that you know that you will supply me with the best coach? What are the kind of certain criteria that these people need to meet? So it's not like someone's grandma that's coming on and being a coach, because nowadays it seems like everyone and their grandma can get a certification online.
Exactly. So we are not against grandmas, first of all, but if the grandma is meeting our requirements, they're welcome to enter Life Coach Code. And the requirements are simple. They need to have certain experience. They need to have certain expertise. So this means that they need to have worked with certain amount of people, and they need to have these people, at least few of them, to give testimonials. So we know that the things they're saying about them, we can check and we can see they're true based on the testimonials of people. Second, as we said, we look in the expertise of their coaching career. So the certificates they have, the path they went, the obstacles they overcome. And we found that not necessarily all the time the coaches who have certificates are the most experts in certain subjects. There are certain coaches that went through the problem they're coaching about themselves, they overcame it themselves, and they know how to better connect with their clients because they've been through the same path, instead of a coach who just learned and got the license and the credential to help with that thing. So we are looking through all of these things. It's like a network of things, and at the end we are evaluating whether or not the coach is good or they're not good, whether or not they're novice or they're advanced level or they're master at something, whether or not they have a backup for what they're saying and speaking, whether or not they have passion. That's the third thing. Do they want to coach, or is it this something that they're currently doing? Is this a passion of theirs that they want to upgrade and learn and transform and become better every day, or is it something that just currently it's the trend and they want to do it? So there are many things, small details that we are looking at that they show during the interview that we are evaluating in the end, and we decide whether or not they should be in our database or they shouldn't. So this is how we are sure that people who are searching our platform will find the best coach for them with the best credentials, meaning that they're fitting these requirements, but also the coach that is fitting to solve the problem exactly they're trying to find.
The way that you speak about this, it reminds me of something you said, very brief in passing, but I feel like it's a recurring theme just throughout this entire process, just as you're speaking about it. You said, I'm looking at all these different puzzle pieces and trying to fit them together. And I'm really interested to know what has been the biggest challenge in actually fitting all of these pieces together, because conceptually, I love the sound of this. And I think that for everyone listening, it's something that everyone can find value from and actually learn and grow within themselves. But what has been the biggest challenge in actually making these puzzle pieces fit so you can actually have that really smooth user experience and you actually get everything that you set out to get?
Yeah, so as I said, there are four fundamental pillars, and when we try to find the coaches, they don't necessarily fit in one of them, right? There is a coach that does mindset coaching, then it's also telling people how to eat, and they're doing some certain yoga positions, and then of course they're doing energy healing. So there are different types of mixes of each coach that we need to find how they're gonna fit and in what pillar they're gonna fit to put them in the right place. This is one of the hardest things because usually not all coaches have their niche targeted as much as so we can clearly say they fit in the mind pillar or they fit in the body pillar. And as you know, all of these things are interconnected themselves, and it's not doing any service to anyone to just separate people just so we can fit in one pillar. So we try to find the right combination, or let me say it like this: we try to find the right experience the coach has and the right techniques they're using and the exact things they're helping with, so we can fit them into the right pillars. If they're approaching the belief system, for example, they try to help people reshape their belief system, because these definitions are so vague and they're differently interpreted, they might think they're a mindset coach. In life coach code, this falls under the spirit pillar because the spirit is responsible for the belief system. So we will fit them in the spirit pillar, and they might say, but we don't have anything to do with spirituality. So we try to explain to them that it's not about spirituality, it's about the spirit anatomy is based on your values, beliefs, all these things. So if you are helping somebody with the belief system, then you are improving the spirit pillar. So that's why you're fitting into the spirit pillar. And these types of things are usually the biggest challenge to find the right place for each coach. But it's also the most interesting part because it's the puzzle itself. As I said, I love putting this puzzle together.
Yeah. And you also said that there was no kind of aha moment when it came to this whole process, which I find just incredibly fascinating, because for a project as big as this one, I would think that you'd need to have this grand life epiphany of like, oh my gosh, I need to put this together. And so I am curious to know, what was your mentality, your life path, whatever you want to call it, for actually putting this all together? And how has it changed and kind of evolved as you've gotten more in depth with this project?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go all the way back. So let's start from my childhood and I'm gonna bring everything together. So when I was 6 years old, my mother died, and my family took a little bit more, how to say, casual. They didn't show a lot of emotion. However, of course, you're gonna feel something and you don't know how to express this if nobody around you is expressing it in a healthy way. So I kind of stuffed all of it inside. When I was in ending of elementary school and in high school, all of this showed up as anger. I was a really angry person and I was becoming something that I couldn't not recognize. I started drinking alcohol. So I started drinking alcohol with my friends, but every time I will drink, I was becoming really angry and was doing so much aggressive things that I was starting to not recognize who I'm becoming. One thing that really helped me was starting to exercise. And every time I went outside to run, all of these, call them demons, that were within me would suddenly just go away. And I was just feeling again like I was feeling in the past before all of this happened. So I was feeling happy and satisfied and in peace. I kept running. That was my best decision in my life. I kept running, kept exercising, just because I got addicted to this relief, to not feel this anger within me. However, I noticed that if I stop running, all of these emotions come back, and they come back double. So I was like, what's going on? There must be something here that I'm not seeing. There must be some pattern, something under the hood. Why is this happening? I just approached it with a curious mind. I really wanted to figure out how this thing works and why. I didn't know anything that is connected with my mother or any trauma or whatever. So I started researching, and psychology became my passion. So I started reading a lot about psychology. Not necessarily because of this reason. I went to study international marketing management, and there was some psychology subjects that I was learning about. Those were my favorites. So I was learning in school by myself. I was reading a lot of books, and some things came clear to me that usually when you get away from your emotions, you're not actually running away from them, you're just postponing them. And when you postpone your emotions, you're actually suppressing them in some part within you. you, and eventually they will resurface in one way, shape, or form. They will either become a messed up chaos and you will feel panic attack, or you will get angry, or if you keep suppressing them, they might even become some illness that you will need to heal physically. So everything's starting because we are neglecting our emotional part of us. And this opened my eyes that we are not just the physical body or the thoughts, that there is also an emotional part of us. And I was becoming curious, if there is an emotional part and mental part and physical part, is there any other part? And when I started studying philosophy, psychology, it made a lot of sense for me to have a fourth part, which is the spiritual part that unites the mental and emotional part, not from a physical perspective, from a metaphysical perspective. So came with this kind of model of the world, the spirit, mind, body, heart, and it made so much sense for me. It actually gave me a map to understand myself much better. Then, long story short, I went to USA. I was working as a lifeguard in a student exchange program, and my pool was very empty. So I was really having a lot of time during the day to just sit and ponder. 3 months, and during these 3 months, I got an idea to just open a blog, a website, to just share these ideas and thoughts. I call them the code of life that I was receiving every time I was running. Because every time I would run, it's like I was having some download and I was understanding more about life, about humans, about our psyche, and I needed some outlet to express this. So I started Life Coach Code with intent to share these thoughts and realizations, and my intent was just to have an outlet to share these ideas. Over 13 years, Life Coach Code slowly developed in what it is today. So this was before and how everything came together.
First, I want to apologize for your loss. You have my sincere condolences. The second is that I really resonate with what you said when you were talking about the anger you were feeling, because when I was 13, my dad passed and I was by no means equipped to handle that. I was not 6. My friend died when I was 6, but a friend is different than a parent. I can only imagine when you're 6, but at 13, I was going through all of these different phases of like, what's life? How do I fit in? And then this extra chunk of just death just kind of comes in and just blows everything up. And it's interesting you talk about anger, because the way that you speak, it's almost as if you took that and you put it into something constructive instead of destructive. Like for me, I would think that if you're feeling angry and then you go out running, if I'm remembering this correctly, like that's like constructive kind of vice, quote unquote. Like it's not something that's like hurting your body, it's strengthening your body. Has there ever been a point in time where you felt that low of wanting to do something destructive and you didn't, and you incorporated that into this kind of business model? Or is there something that you have in terms of like advice for someone who is going through something like that?
Definitely. I'm also sorry for your loss, and I know how it feels to lose a parent. As I said, it's never easy, and it's a scar that doesn't go away. It's just something that you'll need to learn how to live with. It's not necessarily going to be painful all the time, but you will always have this like a scar on your psyche that is reminding you, for better or worse, of what happened, and it's going to show you the true reality of life, that everything passes, and no matter what you do, no matter how loud you scream, how angry you get, that's just what life is. And some people realize this very early, some people realize this late, but everybody realizes it, and it pops this bubble of the fake reality we live in, that the whole modern world is based on of this fake reality. We always try to keep busy with either job or doing something just so we don't sit alone with our thoughts, and our mind goes to that direction, that eventually everything will end, which is a scary thought. And some people don't have the choice but to have this reality be brought up to them. However, this is also a blessing in a way, because you are being shown a reality of life that a lot of people realize it on their deathbed, and then it's already too late to do anything about it. But when you realize it this young, then you have the perspective to actually direct your life towards a more healthy and more realistic and more alive way of living, so to say, because you're not numbing yourself, you're not escaping the reality, you're actually embracing it and seeing what you can do with it, what you can do in these cards that you were dealt, because you did not ask to be born, you were born. This is life, so how we play life. So when we talk about death and anger, it's usually appearing when you don't know how to deal with the loss of a loved one, because when there is no grief, usually anger comes as a substitute emotion. Anger is always a mask emotion, not always, but 99% of the time is a mask emotion of some other emotion. If somebody is not threatening your territory, you need to be angry to defend it, then it's always always a mask for some other emotion. And it's usually grief, sadness, or fear. It's usually these three emotions that anger is masking. So when you are young and when you don't, especially you haven't been told how to grieve, it's natural to come to anger, because anger is it has more energy. The emotion of anger has more energy and a higher vibration. So for you, it feels like you are actually progressing and moving forward, that you are dealing with the situation, but you are actually escaping from the grief that you're not feeling.
Anger is also something that you can feel at any point in life. So it's something that we're used to and comfortable with. Whereas grief it's not necessarily something that you wake up on a Monday morning and feel if there's no just reason.
Exactly. And grief is usually associated with something bad. When you are sad and when you cry, and for example, a lot of people, when they cry and when they grieve, when they feel sadness, they associate it with something going wrong in their life, which usually is the case. But sometimes sadness is an emotion that we all feel, and we all need to sit with it and process it, not run away from it. Because sometimes it happens because of hormones. It doesn't even need to be part of your story that you're sad. Sometimes it's part of your story, and sometimes there are a lot of losses that not necessarily need to be human or relationships or whatever. Sometimes just remembering that you will never play on the street again as a child can be something to grieve about. And these things are subconscious. They can appear and you can be reminded by watching a movie, but you will never consciously think of, I'm gonna grieve about not ever playing as a kid again. It's not coming to your mind, but these emotions are there, they're existing. And when we try to run away from them, we usually run away towards anger, because anger gives us this solution. Like, we are angry, we're gonna do this, we're gonna solve the problem, which is usually the case with anger. Is bringing this energy so you can actually do something about the situation, but that does not overshadow the emotion of grief. Every emotion is there for a reason and is there to tell you a certain message. There is no negative or positive emotion. All emotions that you feel, you need to feel them, process them, and let them go. If you get stuck with one emotion, is usually because you're trying to run away from it. You're not actually processing this emotion. You're not hearing its message. Emotions doesn't necessarily need to mean that you need to express them publicly. You just need to be able to feel them and process them by yourself. And if you want to speak with somebody to have some support, then it's perfectly fine. But that doesn't necessarily need to be the case. You just need to find a way for yourself to process the emotion and then to let it go and release it from your system, so it's not weighing heavy on you. Then naturally you're gonna go higher towards more positive emotions like joy, happiness. As we can see in children, when they, for example, don't have at the exact right time food to eat, they cry. And then the moment you give them food, they start being happy, because they don't suppress any emotion and they come back to their natural state of being, which is love and happiness, like every human. A lot of humans these days are in a state of apathy because they have a lot of pending emotions they haven't dealt with. Another thing is nobody is teaching us how to deal with these emotions in a healthier way. We have certain behaviors associated with these so-called negative emotions that are not that much constructive. As you say, they're more destructive, and nobody wants to be destructive. So we don't know how to process the emotions without doing these destructive behaviors, so we're gonna suppress it. We don't think about actually changing the behavior that is associated with the emotion. And this happened for me. It didn't happen naturally. It actually happened, as I said, I was drinking and I was very angry. And one day I really snapped out at my own family, at my parents. And that morning I just said that I will find out what's wrong with me and I will fix it. I will, if it needs to, I will stop drinking. If it needs to, I will do whatever it takes, but I will not act like this, because first of all, my parents don't deserve it. I don't want them to go through this. So it's my problem. I'm going to deal with it. And I found running as an outlet to get rid of these emotions first. And then for some reason, I found it as sort of meditation to become more aware of myself and how to deal with these things.
There is a lot of hidden gems in there. The first one is, you said there's no such thing as positive and negative emotions. And I really find that interesting, because when you were talking about grief, the first thing I thought of when you used the example of not being able to play as a child outside anymore, that for me would be like nostalgia, which feels like a happy emotion, but grief would be a negative connotation to that kind of memory. So how can you say, and this is not questioning that it's wrong, it's just playing devil's advocate, but how can you say that there's no positive and negative emotion when in the moment, if I feel nostalgic, for example, about my childhood, I don't feel like I'm grieving it. I feel like I'm looking back and being like, aw, like a little grandma sipping on my tea. It's like, ah, the good old days. And that feels positive and happy. But if there is no negative and positive emotions, then how is it that we feel such positivity or negativity? And then when it comes to apathy, there's an entire conversation that can be had around that. But how do you think that there's no positive and negative, but there can be apathy, if that makes sense?
It makes perfect sense, and it's a common question. Let's say it like this: each emotion has a message within that it's carrying for you to learn something. Emotions are messages from your soul, and they speak to you in a way that we don't necessarily learn and understand consciously, but you understand it emotionally. That's why emotions exist. What we call emotion is actually a sensation within your body, which we put a label on. These sensations can have many nuances, and we can put different labels on these nuances. And these labels mean different things for different people because we don't have a general definition for each emotion. That's why emotional literacy is so important. If I'm feeling like this, I'm gonna tell the emotion, you're gonna know exactly what I'm feeling. Then we can understand it. That's why emotional literacy is so important. Back to your question, each emotion, as I said, has a message. And for example, the message of apathy, if you really sit with apathy and evaluate it, what it says to you, if you ask few questions, which on Life Coach Code, we have certain emotional guidance for each emotion, and each question you can ask for a certain emotion that will reveal to you the message this emotion has. So for example, apathy is telling you that there is something in your life that you are doing. It's not bringing you the right energy. It's not bringing you the right food, so to say, to feed your soul. So you need to sit down. That's why apathy exists, to lower your energy so you can reevaluate where your life is going to go. When you're feeling apathy, you don't want to do anything. And this is completely normal because this time you should use it to find what you actually want to do. But nobody is using apathy in this way because we are just stuck with the emotion and we are not getting the message that the emotion is trying to tell us. It's the same as when you are hungry. It's not a very pleasant sensation, right? You're very hungry, but it's motivating you to go get food. If we just stick with the sensation of hunger, we will all die from hunger, right? And we can say hunger is bad, but hunger is not bad. Hunger is actually a signal that is telling you for you to go and find food so you can eat. In the same way, apathy is a signal that is telling you you need to reevaluate your life and find the direction that's actually giving you passion and energy. Does that make any kind of sense?
Yeah, and I love that. I've never thought of it that way before. When you were speaking on apathy and how we're not using it effectively, the first thing I thought of was just social media. Because whenever my friends feel bad or whenever I'm feeling like, oof, I just need to turn my brain off for a minute, the first thing I do is I reach for the phone. And the first thing that I see whenever my friends are depressed, for example, is they just go and then they start scrolling because they want that quick hit of dopamine so they can feel something. They don't want to sit with the apathy because it is uncomfortable. We're used to feeling so many emotions all at once that feeling nothing, it is a very an odd sensation. And if we're not properly educated about it, then we don't know that we can actually use it as a tool. We just see it as a setback or, oh no, something's wrong with me and I'm terrible and I need to fix myself and I just need to forget about it. When it comes to the kind of people that have been helped within your community, has there been any kind of revelations as to why they do turn to distractions like social media or TV or any of these kinds of things that keep them from feeling nothing, for lack of better words?
Yeah, so the whole world is addicted to something: alcohol, drugs, social media, whatever it is. Even weed, 99.9% of people are addicted to something. Social media, mobile phones, video games, they're all designed in a way to capture as much of your attention as possible. One of the greatest psychologists in the world work on these platforms to make that happen, to make sure that happen, because these platforms are businesses that make money based on your attention. As they say, whenever the product is free, most often than not, you are the product itself, because these platforms need attention so you can feed the algorithm, so they can make the algorithm more evolved, that it can serve better ads, and the people who advertise on these platforms can choose them to advertise on them so they can get more profit. So the attention you give to these platforms, for them, is literal money. So they design them in a way that you're gonna get addicted. And whenever life gets a little bit hard, anxious, or there, as you said, different kinds of emotions, it's so easy to pick up your phone and escape from everything. You just put your hand in your pocket, open up, and there is a whole world that is making you love to be there. That, as I said, psychologists work to keep your attention there. And it's chaos and it's funny and all your friends are also there. It's, of course you're gonna go there, right? It's so easy to escape the dullness of life, which life sometimes can be boring, sometimes can be dull, sometimes can be scary, sometimes can be tough and hard, and sometimes there can be certain things that you need to face that are not just little bit uncomfortable, that are so much uncomfortable that you will just try to postpone till the last moment possible, and you will try to escape it. That's why everybody is addicted either to social media or video games or drinking or doing drugs. They need certain type of relief from this nature of life. However, would you like to spend your life escaping life? Death usually comes and pokes this bubble. And for some people, it's usually during these times when either somebody closed eyes that they get this awakening moment. They're like, what I'm doing with my life? I need to change something. Or the blessing of apathy comes, or depression that is literally taking you and putting your energy so low so you can just stop and reevaluate. Or there are certain people that go all throughout their life like this and they end up in their deathbed and then they regret everything, but there is no more chance to do anything right. So there is no magical pill that I can give to people that I will say, just do this and you will be unaddicted from social media, because it's not working like this. All you can do is be aware and use it for your benefit. What I mean is you can customize the feed that you have. So when you escape there, at least you're gonna get something useful. At least you're gonna maybe learn something instead of watching cat videos. Instead, you will find something useful inside instead of just wasting your life. And then maybe you can put some triggers, some alarms that will bring your awareness back to just put your phone, because you have these tools on your phone. As you know, you have alarms. You can put an alarm to ring every time you enter social media, 10 minutes, let it ring. You can become more aware. You can use these tools for your benefit, but I wouldn't say it's even healthy to completely go cold turkey on them, to completely get away. The point is to master your own urges so you can use them for your benefit. As I said, there are 12 villains in the superhuman event we're going to do this year, and one of them are the distractions themselves. And these distractions are it's not the things themselves, it's the distractibility that you allow to exist within you. That's the problem that you need to train. And you train this with discipline and you train this with awareness. There is no other cure. You really need to be aware and you need to act in ways that sometimes are not pleasant. The more you do it, the more you're going to train this muscle. The more you train this muscle, the more you can be able to manage these tools that are evolving every day faster than you can evolve. So you better start now.
And we are almost up for our time today. But to end on kind of hopeful note, what would be the one resounding message that you would want people to take away from this, given everything that we've talked about, given everything that your platform stands for, given everything that you've gone through, that people are eventually going to go through, everything that kind of accompanies the human experience? What would be the one main takeaway that people should really internalize as they start actually taking their mental health more seriously?
Life is far more than you think it is. It can be so much more beautiful if you allow yourself to feel a little pain. And this pain is not bad type of pain. It's pain you are wanting to feel for a certain growth of your spirit, mind, body, or heart. If you resist urge to fall prey into all the distractions around you, into following the usual narrative of go to school and find a job and find a husband or wife and get married and have children and then grow old, retire, and then you're gonna live. If you are able to resist that narrative, to resist how most of the world lives, to find your own path, put a little effort of discovering your own purpose, of the thing that you would spend all your minutes of your life doing, and you will not regret 1 second on your deathbed. If you face that pain of doing that, of putting that effort, life can be so much beautiful. You cannot even imagine how beautiful it can get. It can get so beautiful that you are literally jumping and dancing and singing every day because that's what you want to do, honestly, from your heart. And you will want to wake other people up because you will see how much asleep everyone else around you is, and you will have the urge to do that. My advice is to just focus on yourself until you fully wake up, because we usually wake up a little bit and try to wake others up, and then we see that others don't care and you cannot force nobody to wake up. So we end up living this sleepwalking type of life. So just focus on yourself. Find what you want to do in your life. Find where you want to invest all your dams, lessons, and then go do that and see what life is going to teach you along the way. And be ready to face the lessons. Don't escape from the lessons. And then life is going to get just better and better.
That's really beautiful. I think that's a fantastic way to end for today. Thank you very much for your insight, Dejan.
Thank you so much, Danielle, for this opportunity.
And that wraps up today's episode of Vibrant Living Diaries. It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us. A huge thank you to our guest for sharing your expertise and to the International Wellness Alliance for making this all possible. And we hope that you've been inspired to take the next step forward in your own wellness journey. As always, we're eager to hear your thoughts and experiences. Connect with us on our social media platforms and share how you're integrating the knowledge gained here into your daily life. I'm Danielle Grobman and can't wait to continue this journey with you in our next episode. Until then, keep exploring, stay curious, and embrace the vibrant life you deserve. Speak soon.